I winced, kneading my lower back as I maneuvered my overloaded cart through the Walmart superstore. My swollen belly strained against my maternity top, ache radiating through my entire pregnant body. The third trimester was misery, bloating, soreness, constant peeing, and cravings that lured me out to midnight Walmart runs hunting the holy grail of pregnancy, midnight snacks, dill pickle potato chips. The scuffed aisles stretched endless before me, blurring under harsh fluorescent lights. Shoppers shuffled around oblivious, grabbing discounted holiday decor from picked-over shelves. I stifled a flicker of annoyance at their dull eyes and slack faces dulled by routine. Didn't they understand the magnificence of creating life? How profound to cradle a growing miracle inside your body. 20 minutes later, I still hadn't located the chips. Beneath throbbing feet, the linoleum seemed to grow sticky. The stale air pressed closer, sounds blurring to a low thunder like trapped wings beating. I shuddered, fighting claustrophobic panic, then released my clenched fists with effort. Hormones and exhaustion had to be. This garish maze couldn't literally stretch into infinity or slowly smother me within fluorescent walls, right? Turning the next corner, I studied the looming aisle in confusion, towering fountains of formula instead of their surroundings. I shook my head hard. Surely I hadn't looped back to the baby section 3 times. Heartbeat stuttering, I scanned for an exit only to halt with a choked gasp. Behind the endless formula, a shadowy figure crouched on all fours, crunching steadily, crackling plastic as it stuffed torn bags compulsively into its maw. I recoiled in horror as the creature raised its face to reveal light glinting off oily fur matted with dried gore. It turned eyes like glowing embers upon me, strings of flesh dangling from cruel yellow teeth. Understanding swept me, instinctive and petrifying. This was no confused animal or deranged addict, and it had not blundered randomly to hover at my back, exuding the unmistakable aura of an apex predator poised to strike. It had been stalking me, hunting us, me and the tender morsel curled within my body. Revulsion choked my throat. I hugged my swollen belly as that swollen, hairy thing watched my protective gesture with interest. A mocking parody of maternal instinct glinted in its burning gaze. Adrenaline flooded my veins, muscles igniting with the unfamiliar fire of a mother beast defending her cub. A savage hiss burst from my lips. Whirling, I slammed my hulking cart straight into the monster's head. It crashed backward into formula boxes with an outrigged shriek. I was already sprinting awkwardly down the isla, maternal rage and desperation screaming through every fiber. Slapping footsteps gained behind alongside hideous howls. With a final burst of speed, I hurled my aching body through the exit doors into the frigid night air. Behind me came an unearthly screech, bubbling with fury and promise of future vengeance. Gasping raggedly, I scrambled into my car and slammed the locks just as the demon crashed snarling against the rear bumper. As I peeled out wildly across the icy parking lot, it pursued manically, slamming into other vehicles and leaving behind only shadows. Still, I drove on into the darkness, warnings blaring from my abandoned cart still cramming the exit behind. At last, I reached home. Garage door already closing behind my squealing tires. Only as the last inch of empty night was shut out could oxygen return to my starved lungs. And beneath trembling palms, the first miraculous flutters stirred within once more. Whatever unholy creature had materialized from feverish maternal imaginings or been birthed by the yawning abyss of capitalism into our world, tonight I had conquered back hell itself to preserve my unborn child. Never again would I dare the soulless mega retail palaces, never leave ourselves exposed to the infinite hunger that surely still ravens somewhere in the dark. But perhaps other mothers still shopped, unwitting sacrifices wandering cheerfully down those lurid aisles. Perhaps other swollen bellies might yet prove irresistible bait for that nameless thing I left, prowling the geometric halls pockmarked with arrogant human greed. Perhaps its malformed shadow still capered, watching, waiting to complete unfinished hungers woken by one mother's protective fury. OMG, they've got the cutest boots on sale, my best friend Brandy squealed, waving a pair of black leather booties overhead like a trophy. Her perfect blonde ponytail swished excitedly. I grinned, caught up in her enthusiasm even though Walmart exhausted me. But the lure of new outfits at our budget called. We skipped down the clothing aisle, giggling over sequined tops and candy-colored phone cases. The featureless corridors and fluorescent lights felt less oppressive together. Brandy made everything magical, like the beautiful bubbly lead in a wholesome sitcom. By the junior section, my arms overflowed with potential purchases. Behind us, a display crashed. Brandy and I whirled to see a tall figure peering from the clothes racks, brazenly staring. Unease rippled my skin as the creeper's eyes lingered on my shapely friend. "Yo, stop gawking," Brandy sniffed. Pouting prettily, she flounced further into trendy tops. With a nervous chuckle, I trailed after her into shoe aisles darkened for ambiance. We exclaimed over strappy wedges, students on a fantasy shopping spree. But passing gleaming mirrors no longer reflected two carefree girls, but tense young women haunted by the leering man following us through aisles. My laugh sounded forced now. "Maybe we should get out of here." "Don't let that creep ruin our fun." Brandy winked boldly at our watcher, who hovered behind shoes hunched with intent. His stubbled face hardened into predatory angles in the dim glow. Alarm skittered down my spine like spiders at his continued pursuit. Something about his too-still focus whispered calamity. Brandy suddenly squeaked in delight, darting deeper into the murky aisles. She emerged, cradling a pair of perilously spiked heels. "Aren't these scandalous?" Her coquettish smile fractured at my frantic face, waving her back. Shrieking laughter exploded behind. We spun to see our stalker capering maniacally amid the shadows. With impossible speed, he spider-crawled straight up a pillar, clinging like an insect. Cheap signage clattered down as the manic cackling grew frenzied. Brandy gripped my hand, knuckles white. We backed away slowly, but his head swiveled, pinning us with feverish hunger as he sniffed crudely. Delectable morsels come browse. With horrifying flexibility, he sank to all fours, scuttling sideways like a crab. "Tender meat's too sweet to waste playing hard to get," Brandy wailed as he scurried ceilingward, again cackling. Sobbing prayers, we fled while his gleeful howls echoed everywhere at once. Ahead loomed salvation, harsh industrial lights of the produce section promising sanity. We crashed through to safety and living nightmare. Around us sprawled glistening carnage-coating sterile tile, plastic-wrapped mystery meats promising mom's cooking the easy way, nestled obscenely amid scattered viscera and cleanly gnawed bones of what used to be shoppers and employees. Still smacking its inhuman lips, a thing turned to regard us from hollow sockets above raw sinews dangling from immense jaws. Brandy's screams spiraled to ultrasonic pitch. The creature roared, car-sized bulk dragging towards us, cleaver-like claws screeching sparks on the polished floor. We scarcely made 3 steps before its breath blasted our necks, reeking of digesting entrails. A harsh grip wrenched my arm, jerking me away from snapping teeth as Brandy was ripped from my side. Our simpering stalker slammed us through corroded employee doors into cement claustrophobia. The beast's squealing fury muted behind dented steel. In the dimness, I registered my unlikely savior's grinning face, eyes alight with mad purpose. Brandy wailed anew, but our options now narrowed to single pinprick as the creature outside pounded closer through the metal. I grabbed a dinged-up cart, avoiding suspicious stains as I hurried into the 24-hour Walmart. Graveyard shopping attracted weirdos, but I just needed protein powder at 2 a.m. In and out, 20 minutes top, then I could hit the gym and pound out frustrations from another demoralizing job search. The CPAP masks always creeped me out, lending the pharmacy aisle a torture chamber vibe. I averted my eyes from leering plastic faces and made for the supplement section. Scanning shelves obsessively arranged by a bored overnight stalker, irritation tightened my shoulders. Why was nothing ever easy anymore like back in high school just 6 years ago? Fuming, I prowled deeper in search of muscle fuel, glaring under harsh lighting trying to mimic daylight savings long gone. The store's endless identical aisles distorted spatial awareness. If not careful, you might believe this fluorescent limbo stretched eternally in every direction. A twilight zone populated by garish logos, Muzak, and shambling shadows glimpsed just outside your shrinking periphery. I paused, listening. No squeaking carts or shuffling feet anymore, despite cars choking the lot just now. In fact, no other signs of life whatsoever apart from myself and the watcher trailing me through aisles just beyond sight. Unease slithered up my spine. I spun to confront empty lanes under sickly lights, each angle holding only sterile merchandise. Had some meth head wandered in off the fog-wet highway, white trash junkies would roam anywhere seeking valuables to pawn. A sharp clatter yanked me sideways. 2 aisles over, someone, or something, swayed beneath stark bulbs. Lank hair shrouded its face as taloned hands shook violently, upending trash cans and displays in some frenzied tantrum. I should flee, but training kicked in first. "Hey, buddy!" My sharp tone echoed command presence honed by military service. "Store's closed to the public right now. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." It stilled, cocking its hooded head with slow menace. Dread congealed in my gut. No human normalcy waited in that unsteady figure, slowly pivoting my direction. I retreated 1 step, 2, as the thing sniffed crudely before releasing an eager, keening cry. All pretense vanished as it fell onto all fours, scuttling sideways like a roach. My shriek rang out, answered by clattering footsteps erupting from every direction. Hell erupted down aisles as misshapen forms capered into view, surrounding me with cackles echoing from the rafters. This was no aimless mob, but a coordinated pack bent on plaything sport. Heart exploding in my throat, I fled blindly, their infernal shrieks and pounding pursuit driving me ever deeper into the store's lightless bowels. Up ahead loomed estranging shapes from childhood nightmares. Enormous horns, furred torsos promising bloody vengeance, distended jaws groaning with eldritch hunger, and beneath, worst of all, the cancerous mark emblazoned black upon their shuddering hides. A mark last glimpsed on the final leave that ruined my innocent past and sane future, now seared unforgettable as the sigil of crooked forces overrunning Walmart's banal acres. I crashed through storage doors into choking darkness, their guttural cries pealing with infernal ecstasy, celebrating inevitable feast to come. And in the dark, their master's voice crawled through my skull, its rasping chuckle dripping down spinal columns as those doors began buckling behind my faltering back. The same sneering voice as barked amused from smoldering ruins 6 years past, surveying bloody victory across an innocent village seared to oblivion beneath drone strikes. "Thought you escaped us, piggy pig?" A talon stroked my rigid cheek almost lovingly as light died sputtering. "Welcome home, Sergeant Powell. Our favorite all-American meal to go." I hitched my TMNT backpack higher, wandering wide-eyed through the small-town Walmart's toy section. Mom was off grocery shopping, but I always snuck over here, hungry gaze devouring action figures and model kits under sickly fluorescence. These garish, labyrinthine aisles felt like home to little latchkey kids like me, an old reliable babysitter whenever Mom ran late from work and left me wandering quiet suburban streets. Better to wander here than face our dark, empty apartment echoing things no boy should endure alone. Tonight the air held that same foreboding pall, winter gloom descending premature. Though only late afternoon, the parking lot lamps already burned through dusty windows. Outside snow flurries, whirled impatiente cloak holiday decai, and summer's faded bonies, shivering slightly. I wandered down iceless flushed with Christmas dregs, scrambled leftover ornaments, torn ribbon rolls, one gaudy decoration commemorating one final pagan tradition before this place too closed its year forever. Rounding a corner by sporting goods, movement caught my eye. A tall figure stood motionless, studying hunting bows, frame wiry beneath a dark coat smeared oddly as if just coming from work in a slaughterhouse. As I passed warily behind, the head half turned, revealing a pale, hairless face with eyes that reflected black. My breath seized as recognition stopped me in my tracks. Not eyes at all, but dark hollows above a poorly concealing surgical mask. Dark nail polish coating its skeletal hands triggered a horrible memory. I must have made some small sound because its head jerked fully toward me, skull features jutting sharply beneath tight skin as it inhaled eagerly. My sob hitched loud in the sudden stillness. The wretched thing from Mom's bedroom closet, the hairless parasite that crept to my bed exhaling sweet horror, revealing my cowering eyes wide. It had never been imagination at all. Somehow the monster followed me even here, to my last refuge of wonders fluorescent and mass-produced. It turned fully, crinkling grin visible beneath the mask as it unfolded scarecrow limbs. I backpedaled wildly, but collision with the shelf whirled me sideways instead, through an employee door gaping open to cement-walled refuge. Gasping painfully in the harshly lit hall, I glimpsed salvation, utility stairs winding up out of danger as insubstantial screams pursued me skyward. Bursting onto the rooftop, I staggered into fading afternoon, toppled into night. A dusty oasis of tar paper and ventilation units, yet echoed laughter, beckoning refuge. Sobbing wildly, I wrenched the heavy door fast against clawing horrors, determined to reclaim me back through innocent pasts into tainted futures I was born never meant to survive. Perhaps until the long cold claimed me forever atop this island, amidst snowflakes' sterile embrace. Or perhaps not, I whimpered, peering across the snow-dusted plain, glowing strangely bright save for one blot of darkness. The tree line's teeth gnashed deep by shadows whispering my buried name. In that black maw tilting ever closer, perhaps still grinned my secret mother, canted awkwardly. The lushly horrifying parasite patiently teaching me her odd angles, and what might crawl terrifying up from under pale moonlight betrayed. And perhaps beside her, undulating, on knobby limbs, pranced her deadly suitor from my past, seeking one special little replacement son, one perfect protege, ripe for harvest, below his crimson churchyard bloom. Their hollow gazes burned through falling snow, tracing glacier lines down my heaving ribs. And they promised from those woods, where once I sought fairy magic, they soon would frolic clacking under winter's corpse blue light. That despite lost trees and faith and innocence, I had never outrun them after all down suburbia's dying veins. That our last harvest approached, fattened by hundreds of nights, rich in terrors, I alone had nourished surviving. Cheered by thousands, I might yet feed should strength and fortune hold just long enough to surrender me back into those dark, patient arms at last below the silent stars. I tapped my glittery heels together, reveling in cute new outfits as Mom pushed our overloaded cart through Walmart's clothing section. Ruffles, sequins, pretty prints perfectly befitting Daddy's little princess. I grinned smugly. The cheer team couldn't mock my second-hand clothes now. This blonde bombshell would rule the middle school roost next fall. Spying a sweater with a kitten applique, I rushed over and seized it, cuddling soft fleece. It's simply darling. Oh, please, Mommy, can we... My plea became a shriek as something yanked me backward by my long hair. I crashed to slick linoleum, limbs flailing like an upended beetle, as feverish cackling echoed overhead. Wincing through tears, I peered up at a tall, albino pale woman grinning down, her strange beauty marred by too wide mouth and wild eyes above tattered Walmart vest. Identity clicked and foreboding trickled down my neck. The new employee who always smiled peculiarly when I skipped by her register in frilly dresses, hunger glinting in her disturbing gaze. "Sweet, succulent morsel," she crooned, stroking my hair almost tenderly before harshly twisting a blonde curl. I cried out, kicked weakly toward her bony knees as dread boiled my blood. This crazy woman wanted more than petty goods from Walmart's shelves. "Alice!" My mother's terrified shriek broke our twisted tableau. The lunatic's head jerked up, teeth bared with predatory focus. As that disturbing stare skewered my mother, the true scale of this creature's madness struck home, because what waited behind those feverish eyes held no fragments of humanity, only obscene instinct miles beyond sanity's shattered shores. With a keening cry, the gangly woman skittered sideways like an insect, barreling down the store aisle even as heavy footsteps erupted from the direction of her primal sprint. Wailing workers and panicked shoppers suddenly poured around the far corner, eyes rolling whitely as they stampeded toward my mother. Fresh blood smeared ragged Walmart uniforms as outstretched hands groped desperately toward any escape. I had no chance to warn Mum before the frantic-haired Tramplitos Both screaming beneath their mindless charge. Blinding pain radiated through me as the blackness roared louder. I surfaced alone in a pool of harsh light, gazing up at a water-stained ceiling. Feeble cries echoed from shadowy corners as the reek of urine and antiseptic burned my throat. Where was I? Some forgotten psychiatric ward with peeling paint and dented door, barely muffling hopeless sobs and demonic cackling from the waiting hall. Clarity crashed sickeningly back alongside pain flaring everywhere. As I struggled upright, broken fingers scrabbling across cold vinyl tiles. Because surrounding my crawler lay not faceless hospital debris, but disemboweled teddy bears. Shredded sexy lingerie, holiday feasts tinseled bloody with the eviscerated innards of merry Walmart families. Bile scorched my throat. That madwoman's laughter spiraled hysterically over the store intercom between bursts of gibbering shrieks echoing everywhere at once. The blood-slicked sounds of the newly damned capering through capitalism's sterile acres to celebrate the devil's dark harvest. Gagging on horror and anguish, I spotted a toppled pillar wrapped in grandmotherly acrylic sweaters. Beneath spilled grannyware and yarn shrapnel poked one broken hand, sporting a glittery purple manicure that matched my own ruined fingers. A final sparkling accessory atop the shallow mass grave that yesterday was my mother. I dragged my shattered body toward the last glimpse of a woman who birthed and clothed me proudly, despite our humble means, until malevolent hunger invaded this domestic sanctuary, seeking one perfect lamb for its insatiable slaughter. My strength gave out halfway across the refuse-strewn tile. Through a haze of agony and grief, I glimpsed high above, where demonic entities capered and cavorted, their keening frenzy fueled by warehouse acres of innocent blood, and trailing those impossible feats of hellish gymnastics, dragged a pale banner scrawled childishly in dripping scarlet letters, "Our perfect Dolly, racked by infernal mirth." The albino woman leaned out over the abyssal drop, her beautiful face warped unrecognizable as she unleashed a soul-shattering peal of anticipation. One skeletal hand extended claw-like toward my sprawled form, every distorted feature alight with ownership. Because she had found her long-awaited prize last, one glamorous dress-up toy of blonde ringlets and Forever 16 delivered helpless last in a final bloodbath binding tender prey to her torment with unbreakable chains of madness and tragedy. Her voice crawled from everywhere at once, seeping under my skin as she crooned promises, vows that my fatal beauty would never escape again, now that she had marked me eternally prisoner of these sterile halls, turned toward darker, unimaginable purposes. No clause or warranty could void our contract sealed by blood, as this Walmart wonderland closed off all previous freedoms to welcome me eternal to her promised land of perfect playthings.